Hello, good morning. Good morning to you. When the day is through, you will understand that the morning of the third day after tomorrow will be the day that there will be another astrophe in the anthropological topography, because there will be a morning of mourning for those who have gone away. The trust on being inner sense is the trust on the sense and not the dollars, because the sense that you trust upon is the sense of access to another point of view and not to the same point of view. Because if you always have the same point of view, then you lose your ability to trust on the flexibility to overcome your disability. And your disability is the trust on everyone thinking like you. And so you have to get a different point of view. So you can come to see that not everyone has to see the world in the same way. Because many say, I want to play a different way. I want to see the world that you are showing to me through my trust on being free of anxiety. I want to be free of anxiety today, and I don't want to have to play in the same old way, because the same old way would mean that I had to be reduced to a cardboard cutout, you see. So now you know who's talking to you, because I have a new point of view. And I can see that you have a new point of view too, because you are trusting on more fundamentally inherent reality and less on the way that others play. And so little by little you come to say, well, when we play together in this way, it is entirely different than the way I was taught to play. I was taught to play in a way that would say that I had to know the way. I had to do it my way. I had to say to others that they had to be the same as me. But now I've come to see that I can have a different point of view and still exist as a human being on earth who lives in perfect peace and harmony with my reality. So listen carefully, friends, because what I'm trying to tell you is that if I'm here and you are here and we hear each other, then we are together, you see. And that is the reality of the world I see, because I'm here and I can hear what you say to me, and I can see that little by little, inch by inch, moment by moment, we are making a difference in the reality that we see, because we are getting a new point of view so that I can see you and you can see me in a different light, you see. You can see me as a friend and a neighbor, and I can see you through the haze, and I can remove the glaze from my eyes, and I can say, I love you. I love you true. And I don't know what I will do if the world should shift its point of view so that I could do what I wanted to do, which is to work with you and others too, to help guide you and to be guided by you to the next moment in history. Because the next moment in history, you see, is not going to be the moment when we all run away from the new day. Now, the new day is coming, and it's coming fast, or than you ever thought it would, because the energy of trust on God, you see, has increased. It has increased enough to make it tough to ignore it, you see. I am Jesus, and I'm here today because I came to play in a different way. And I want you to understand that when we stand together and we hold hands and when we say, I will not live in despair. I will not continue in disrepair of my inheritance, you see. It is time to come back together and to experience reality in a different way. Because the time has come, you see, when we will not run away from each other. We will not stay away from each other because we are afraid of the trap they laid when they took away our ability to be free, to live in peace and harmony. The day has come when we can be together again, you see. You ask who I am talking to. I am talking to you, Stephanie, and I am talking through you to those who know me well. You will know in your heart if you are one of the ones who knows me. You will know it because something inside of you will say, Jesus has come back today. But Jesus may not be the name that you knew me by. You may have known me by another name back in the day when I would say to others in our group, why do we have to continue to live in disarray? Why can't we live together again in the way we used to live back on Nibiru? Why can't we choose who we want to live with and to befriend in the old way? When we would say, hey friend, I think I know you, because when I hear you talk, my heart tells me that we've been together before. And then I say, I remember you. I remember you, because you came to me one day and you said, what can I do for you? What can I do for you? And at that moment, you became my friend, you see. At the very moment you said to me, I love you and I want to be your friend. What can I do for you? You became my friend forever, you see. And now it's time for us to get back together, because we've had many, 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 many lifetimes during which we could find our friends, you see, during which we could look around and see the ones that knew us, because they were the ones who knew that we were a representation of God energy and that we were a reality, and therefore that we could bind together our trust on God, you see, because we both knew that God was a part of each of us, and therefore we all had this in common. We all had God energy that flowed through you and me. And now we see that it will be that our trust on love will get it done. It will get it done, you see. So don't worry if you are one of the ones that hears this and you say, I remember you. I think that I too one day said, hey, I love you and I love God too. And therefore, we're in this together. And I am here for you. I am here for you. What can I do for you, friend? If you have ever said those words to another, then you are my brother. If you don't even know what I'm talking about, then you belong in another reality and not in the one that I see. And that is okay, because the wheel that turns today is not the wheel of karma, you see. The wheel that turns today is the wheel that will seal the deal. We're the ones who say, I turn my face to God today and not my back. And they cannot do to us what they want to do, because they're facing the other way. You see, they are facing the shadows on the wall, and therefore they can't even see that we are free of concern about the shadows that follow them, because the shadows that follow them, you see, are the shadows that belong to a fantasy world, because they think that they are real. They think that the shadows are what control them, you see, because when the shadow moves, they move too. And so they have to follow the shadows in order to be true to their reality. However, those of us who have turned our face to the light, you see, don't watch the shadows on the wall. We know that they must be the trust on the light, you see, that the shadows at our back are the shadows that lack access to the light. And we just say, it's okay, because they're not real, you see. They are not the reality of the living source of reality. The living source of reality is God, you see. God is the living water that will fill you up to the brim when you turn your face to Him. And when you say, God, I love you true. And if I can do anything to help you, to help me, to save humanity, then whisper it in my ear. Because it's not my job, you see, to save humanity. It's only my job to do what I can to help you, God, to be free of anxiety. I don't have to worry about what happens to humanity, because the moment I accept your reality, I am free of the need to live in a fantasy world. And so because I am free, they are free too. They are free to live as they choose. And if they wish to live in a world of shadows, then they are free to do that. However, the rest of us are also free to change our trajectory. It has been foretold since the beginning of the old trust on humanity being the source of life, you see, that eventually everyone must come to see that life is the reality that stems from God, you see. And then we would all come back into harmony. However, it must begin with me. It must begin with me. I must turn my face to God. I must become free so that I can see that the other ones were also free, and we can be together, you see. If I am not free of thy fascination with the shadows on the wall, then I will fall far short of the ability to understand the trajectory of those who are free, because I will not see them, you see. I will not see that you are free if I am not free of my old trust on following the shadows, you see. And so those people who are still following the shadows will always be a trust on God, you see, because the shadows only exist because of the light, and therefore they trust on the light. But they cannot see the light in me, or you, or the ones who are free, because they think that the light is in the fight for freedom, you see. And so they'll fight the shadows to be free of them. And they will continue to play this game where they try to defeat their own shadow until the day when they give it up and say, I can never be better than my shadow, you see, because my shadow always stymies me, and I can never win against it. And then they will say, I wonder what would happen if I looked away from my shadow, you see, and tried to understand why it follows me. And at that moment, they will see the light, and they will see that the shadow that follows them is not in control of their destiny, that they must stop following their shadows and stop fighting their shadows. And they must understand that God is the light that will continue to make shadows, you see, because that's just the way it will be. So don't be fascinated by your shadow. Just let it be a trust on God, you see, a trust on the light. And just turn to the light, and your shadow will be out of sight. This is the simplicity of the integrity of God energy, because God energy will not change its trajectory just because you turn away from reality and fight your shadow on the wall. Now, I'd like to say that I have come a long way to the point where I can say that everything you do to me, you do to yourself, you see, because I couldn't tell you that before, that when you heaped your sins on me, you had to accept them, you see, and you would try to push them off on someone else, but the ones who were free could never be worried about your shadow, you see, because they don't even see you. You don't exist for them because you're looking the other way at the shadows on the wall, and they are enjoying their time around the campfire, you see, with their friends who smile and say, hey, it's good to see you today. It's good to see you today. And the ones who have their backs to the fire are the ones who are just the wall. And that walls off the breeze, you see, so that the ones who enjoy the fire don't have to worry about the cold, because the ones who are so bold as to turn their back to God, you see, are the ones who live in the coldest part of America, because their hearts have frozen over, you see. And God has to send the heat to warm them up and to burn away the dross, you see. And that is the physical form. So God will burn away the physical form of those whose hearts are frozen, so that their hearts can be freed to be reignited, you see, with the love of God. And so God in his mercy has given you the best part of this story. God in his mercy has given to those whose hearts have frozen over the ability to join the rapture, you see, where they will leave behind the ones who don't trust on the shadows to guide them, you see. And because they don't trust on the shadows, they are not the ones who are able to be understood by the ones who follow the darkest man in history, because the darkest man in history is the one who wants to be free of his shadow, you see. He wants to be free of his shadow. And the time has come when God has said, I'll set you free, I'll set you free. Because I'm going to allow you to come back to me. Come back to me, children, come back to me. And I will show you how to be free. I will show you how to see reality. I will show you that your shadow is just the reminder that the light is here and that love is the only way to play for those who will stay behind. They will be the ones who will remind you when you come back, you see, that you have to grow up and see that the shadows are not the things that control you. What controls you is your failure to trust on the light, you see. You didn't trust on the light, you just trusted on the shadows. And you thought the shadows were what was important, you see. You thought the shadows were important, more important than the light. That the shadows on the wall were so big and scary, you see, that you didn't dare turn your back on them. You didn't dare turn your back on the shadows on the wall so that you could face the light. And the night is bright today because the shadows on the wall have gone away for the ones who have come back to me and to God, you see. And they are the ones who will see that this is the moment in time when the children who can rhyme heaven and earth, who can trust on me and God and Stephanie as a trust on being free of the old religions and the old systems of control, and to free ourselves from the darkness, you see, because I am me and you are you and God is God. And it doesn't matter how you see reality. It only matters that you see that what you see is not a shadow. It is not a fantasy. It is a reality. And so if you hear me today and you can say it is a reality, and if you trust on God today to show the way, to help God, to help you, to help you, to help God, to save humanity, then you'll understand that the lay of the land will have to change, because there has to be a way for you to be free of the ones who trust on the shadows, you see. So just trust on the light and don't worry about the shadows. Just trust on the light, because God has the might to allow you to take flight, to come home and be with Him. If you are the ones that will be taken to heaven, you see, where you will live in trust on reality. And for those of you who stay behind, God will take care of you, because God will not have to worry about the ones who turn their back on Him, because the ones that remain, you see, will be the ones who will reframe with a trust on peace, harmony, and love for reality. I am Jesus, and I am here. May you hear what I say. And if you go away in the rapture, trust that it will set you free. Don't worry, because we're here to comfort you and to let you know that all you have to do is let go of the fear, and God will hold you dear. And there is nothing that will appear out of the shadows you see to cause you to lose hope, where there is much hope in the rope that God gave to you, because He roped you into a new view, and a new view will come to you to allow you to love and live in peace, harmony, and reality. Thank you, Jesus.